So the right is going absolutely crazy right now. They're losing their shit because Assemblyman Mamdani beat Andrew Cuomo for the Democratic nomination for mayor of New York City. And the reason why they're going crazy is because he's saying radical things like people should be able to afford housing and food. He's saying radical things like people should have livable wages. He's saying people should be able to take buses for free. Parents should be able to have childcare for free, and we should tax the wealthy and corporations. Holy shit, this guy is nuts. I want to tell you guys a story, and then I'll get back to this entire race and everything, right? It's kind of a pastime for my wife and I to go to like a restaurant and sit down, have a drink, have some dinner. And a lot of times we eavesdrop on other people's conversations. I know it's weird. It's kind of crazy, but we do that. And we talk about their conversations. Recently, we were in this restaurant, and this guy seemed to be very interested in all of the wait staff and how much they make and stuff like that. He kept on asking them what they thought about the minimum wage going up to $20 or $21 here in California, and all of them were basically saying, we like that. We think we should be making more money because the cost of living in California is pretty high. This guy was pretending to be a centrist, like a lot of conservatives try to do. They try to pretend that they're right down the middle or whatever. But you could tell he was very conservative in his beliefs. He kept on saying to them, yeah, but you know, every time we raise the minimum wage, people, these corporations, these companies, they just raise the price of things. And I wanted to just stop the dude, but I didn't because we were just eavesdropping. But here's the thing I always ask people who say that. What are the excuses that they use when they're raising the prices when we don't raise the minimum wage? Because the federal minimum wage itself hasn't gone up in like 20 to 30 years, but companies still keep raising their prices. It's absolutely crazy to me that people have this kind of thought. So my question is this. If companies are going to continue to raise their prices and we're not going to raise the federal minimum wage, what can we do? What can we do to make sure that people are able to afford groceries? A lot of people don't think that the government has a function, right? Or their function is not to take care of its citizens, or we're supposed to be worried about, national security only. We pay them our tax dollars because we believe their function is also to protect us from price gouging. I saw a thing that said some billionaire CEO is thinking about leaving the New York City if Mamdani becomes the mayor. And there are people who are arguing so that billionaires can become multi-billionaires instead of just being millionaires. And here's the thing. I don't think people shouldn't be able to start a business and make a good bit of money. I don't even mind people making a lot of money. But when we're arguing on behalf of these billionaires who became billionaires by price gouging people, I have to ask myself, what the fuck? What is wrong with people? We have so many poor and middle class people who seem to want to argue on behalf of billionaires just making more money. These people became billionaires by price gouging the shit out of people like you and me. I have no problem with this Congress member saying, we want to make sure people can afford food. So he says, we're going to freeze the prices of food. We're going to freeze the prices of rent. And if these companies weren't so goddamn greedy, if these companies weren't so goddamn predatory, he wouldn't have to do this. And the reason why he garnered so much support is because many people have been thinking these things. We should have childcare for free. We should have transportation for free. We can do these things by taxing rich people. And for anyone out there who's like, well, we can't tax them. Nobody ever asked how we paid for missiles to shoot at Iran. No one asked that. No one ever asked how we're supporting Israel in all of these wars that they're in. No one says what's the price tag on that. But the second you say you want to feed people and house people, everyone's like, where's the money going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? My goodness. You guys realize most of you are closer to being the poor person who is homeless without any food than you will ever be to the billionaire. Your neighbors are all having to live paycheck to paycheck because we don't force corporations to pay people livable wages. I don't understand how poor and middle class people will argue with each other to make sure that billionaires stay rich. Here's what you're doing when you do that. You're keeping your neighbor from going on vacation with their family. You're keeping your neighbor from taking their family out to dinner for their birthday, while at the same time making it possible for a billionaire to buy another yacht or another expensive car or take their family on another extravagant, vacation. That's what you're doing when you're arguing. We can't tax them because then they won't. That's bullshit. They always say, oh, don't tax them because it won't trickle down. That shit hasn't been trickling down. Trickle down economics does not work. If it worked, we wouldn't have politicians out here saying we got to pay people more. We got to make these corporations raise wages. If these things worked, this guy wouldn't have won because he wouldn't have been needed. And you're going to see a lot more politicians like this winning. And I've said many times, the next Democrat that runs on using executive orders to change all of the things that we want to change, that's the person that I am voting for. Donald Trump came in, didn't give a shit about Congress, didn't give a shit about who he's supposed to go through. He just started writing executive orders for all the things that he wanted to do. Many of them were illegal, and that's why courts have been knocking them down. But some of them have gone through. So I need Democrat politicians to have the balls to do the exact same thing. I need you to say straight up, we're going to make sure the federal minimum wage goes up because I'm signing a goddamn executive order for it. We're going to make sure that there's no price gouging because I'm signing a goddamn executive order for it. We're going to make sure that these rents don't keep going up and people aren't making the wages to match that because I'm going to sign a goddamn executive order. That's what I want. That's the energy I need. And I'm not voting for anyone who doesn't bring that energy. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.